Atomic Habits. Chapter 1. Little habits can have a shockingly incredible effect on your life. Think a plane taking off from Los Angeles on the way to New York. In the case of, during departure, the pilot chose to change course 3.5 degrees toward the south, the plane's nose would move only a couple of feet. Outside of the cockpit, nobody on board would see the little development. Be that as it may, throughout an adventure the nation over, the effect of the change would be impressive, and the befuddled travelers would land from their plane in Washington, D.C., not New York. We don't see small changes, in light of the fact that their quick effect is insignificant. On the off chance that you are rusty today, and go for a 20-minute run, regardless you will be flabby tomorrow. Then again, in the event that you eat a family-sized pizza for supper, it won't make you overweight medium term. Be that as it may, on the off chance that we rehash little practices for a long time, our decisions compound into significant outcomes. Eat pizza consistently, and it's feasible you will have put on extensive load following a year. Go running for 20 minutes consistently, and you'll in the long run be less fatty and fitter, despite the fact that you won't have seen the change occurring. On the off chance that you need to roll out a positive improvement in your life, you ought to perceive that change requires persistence, just as certainty that your propensities are keeping you on the correct direction, regardless of whether you aren't seeing prompt outcomes. So in the event that you find that your practices and propensities don't appear to satisfy, attempt to concentrate on your present direction instead of your present outcomes. On the off chance that you have minimal expenditure in the bank, however you are sparing something every month, at that point you can be sure that your direction is correct. Your present outcomes probably won't be incredible, yet prop up toward this path and, in a couple of months or a couple of years, you will see a significant improvement. On the other hand, a mogul who outspends his income every month may not be stressed over his bank explanations starting with one month then on to the next, at the same time, at last his direction will get up to speed with him. The way to rolling out enormous improvements throughout your life doesn't need to include significant change. You don't have to reform your conduct or re-examine yourself. Or maybe, you can roll out modest improvements to your conduct which, when rehashed time and time, will progress toward becoming propensities that may prompt enormous outcomes. Chapter 2. Habits are mechanized practices that we've gained for a fact. At the point when you stroll into a dull room, you don't consider what to do straight away, you instinctually go after a light switch. It's a propensity, a conduct that you've rehashed so often that it presently happens consequently. So how are propensities shaped? All things considered, our mind makes sense of how to react to new circumstances through a procedure of experimentation. 19th century clinician Edward Thorndike broadly showed this with a test where felines were put in a black box. Obviously, each feline quickly attempted to escape from the container, sniffing at its corners and pawing at its dividers. In the end, the feline would discover a switch that, when squeezed, would open an entryway, empowering escape. Thorndike at that point took the felines that had effectively gotten away and rehashed the trial. His discoveries. All things considered, in the wake of being placed in the case a couple of times, each feline took in the stunt. Instead of scrambling around for a moment or more, the felines went straight for the switch. After 20 or 30 endeavors, the normal feline could escape in only 6 seconds. As it were, the way toward escaping the container had turned out to be routine. Thorndike had found that practices that give fulfilling outcomes, for this situation, picking up opportunity, will in general be rehashed until they become programmed. Like felines in the 19th century, we additionally unearthed fulfilling answers for these challenges and dilemmas. What's more, fortunately, we presently comprehend somewhat more about how propensities work. Propensities start with a signal, or a trigger to act. Strolling into a dull room signals you to play out an activity that will empower locate. Next comes a hankering for an adjustment in state, in this case, to have the option to see. At that point comes our reaction, or activity, flicking the light switch. The last advance all the while, and the ultimate objective of each propensity, is the reward. Here, it's the inclination of mellow help and solace that originates from having the option to see your environment. Each propensity is dependent upon a similar procedure. Do you constantly drink espresso each morning? Awakening is your signal, setting off a hankering to feel alert. Your reaction is to drag yourself up and make a cup of joe. Your reward is feeling alarm and prepared to confront the world. In any case, obviously, not all propensities are beneficial for us. Since we see how propensities work, how about we take a gander at structure positive ones that improve our lives? Chapter 3. Making new habits requires hard-to-miss signs and a game plan. We all have signs that trigger certain propensities. The buzz of your telephone, for instance, is a signal to check your messages. Furthermore, when you comprehend that specific upgrades can provoke constant conduct, you can utilize this learning to change your propensities. How? All things considered, one route is to change your environment and general condition to support better propensities. Simply take crafted by Boston-based specialist Anne Thorndike. She needed to improve her patients' dietary propensities without expecting them to settle on a cognizant choice. How could she pull this off? She had the medical clinic cafeteria reworked. Initially, the fridges beside the sales registers contained just pop. Thorndike presented water, there, yet at each other beverage station. More than a quarter of a year, soft drink deals dropped by 11%, while water deals shot up by 25%. Individuals were settling on more beneficial decisions, in light of the fact that the signal to drink water as opposed to soft drink was progressively conspicuous. So straightforward changes to our condition can have a major effect. Need to rehearse guitar. Forget about the instrument in the focal point of the room. Attempting to eat more advantageous tidbits. Forget about them on the counter, rather than in the plate of mixed greens cabinet. Cause your signs as clear as could reasonably be expected, and you'll be bound to react to them. A second incredible approach to reinforce prompts is to utilize usage aims. The greater part of us will in general be too ambiguous about our goals. We state, "I will eat better," and basically trust that we'll finish. A usage goal presents an unmistakable strategy, setting out when and where you'll do the propensity you'd like to develop. What's more, investigate demonstrates that it works. An investigation of voters in the United States found that the natives who opposed the inquiries, "At what time will you vote?" and "In what capacity will you get to the Democratic station?" were bound to really turn out than the individuals who were simply inquired as to whether they would cast a ballot. So don't simply say, "I'll run all the more regularly." Say, "On Monday, Wednesday and Friday, when the caution goes off, the principal thing I'll do is wear my running reading and clock 2 miles. Then forget about your running shoes where you'll see them. You'll be giving yourself both a reasonable arrangement and a conspicuous prompt, and it might amaze you how much simpler this will make it to really manufacture a positive running propensity. Chapter 4. People are propelled by the expectation of reward, so making habits appealing will enable you to adhere to them. In 1954, neuroscientists James Olds and Peter Milner ran a trial to test the nervous system science of want. Utilizing anodes, they hindered the arrival of the synapse dopamine in rodents. Incredibly, the rodents just lost the will to live. They wanted to eat, drink, replicate, or do whatever else. Negligible days after the fact, they all passed on at first. The human mind discharges dopamine, a hormone that makes us feel better, when we accomplish pleasurable things, for example, eating or having intercourse. In any case, we likewise get a hit of feel-great dopamine when we basically envision those pleasurable exercises. It's the mind's method for driving us ahead and urging us to really get things done. Thus, in the cerebrum's reward framework, craving something is keeping pace with getting something, which goes far toward clarifying why children appreciate the expectation of Christmas to such an extent. It's likewise why wandering off in fantasy land about your up-and-coming hot date is so pleasurable. We can likewise make this information advantageous for us when attempting to frame propensities. In the event that we make a propensity something we anticipate, we'll be considerably more liable to finish and really do it. An incredible strategy for this is enticement packaging. That is the point at which you take a conduct that you consider as significant however unappealing and interface it to a conduct that you're attracted to, one that will create that persuading dopamine hit. Ronan Byrne, a building understudy in Ireland, realized he should practice more, yet he got little delight from working out. Notwithstanding, he enjoyed viewing Netflix. So he hacked an activity bicycle, associating it to his workstation and composing code that would possibly permit Netflix to run in the event that he was cycling at a specific speed. By connecting exercise, truly, to a conduct that he was normally attracted to, he changed a disagreeable movement into a pleasurable one. You should be an architect to apply this to your life. In the event that you have to work out, however you need to make up for lost time with the most recent rundown tattle, you could focus on just understanding magazines while at the exercise center. In the event that you need to watch sports, yet you have to make deals calls, guarantee yourself a half hour of ESPN after you converse with your 10th prospect. Before long enough, you may even locate those ugly undertakings charming, since you will be foreseeing a satisfying prize while completing them. Chapter 5. In the event that you need to assemble another habit, make that a bit as simple to receive as could be expected under the circumstances. We regularly invest a ton of energy in practices that are simple. Booking through online networking, for instance, requires zero exertion, so it's simple for it to top off bunches within recent memory. Doing 100 push-ups or considering Mandarin Chinese, conversely, requires a great deal of exertion. Rehashing those practices every day until they become ongoing is intense. So making practices as simple as conceivable is critical to transforming them into propensities. Fortunately, there are a couple of stunts we can grasp to cause anything to appear to be simpler. The first is to concentrate on lessening contact. The creator has consistently been miserable at sending welcome cards, while his significant other never neglects to do as such. Why? Indeed, she keeps a case of welcome cards at home, pre-sorted by event, making it simpler to send congrats or sympathies or whatever is called for. Since she doesn't need to go out and purchase a card when somebody gets hitched or has a mishap, there's no grading engaged with sending one. You can likewise utilize this way to deal with increment contact for negative behavior patterns. In the event that you need to burn through less time before the TV, unplug it and remove the batteries from the remote. Doing so will acquaint enough grading with guarantee you possibly watch when you truly need to. The second stunt for making a propensity simpler in the long haul is the 2-minute standard, an approach to make any new movement feel sensible. The standard is that any action can be refined into a propensity that is possible inside 2 minutes. Need to understand more. Try not to focus on perusing one book each week, rather, make a propensity for perusing 2 pages for every night. Need to run a long-distance race. Focus on just putting on your pursuing reading each day work. The 2-minute principle is an approach to assemble effectively attainable propensities, and those can lead you on to more noteworthy things. When you've pulled on your running shoes, you'll likely take off for a run. When you've perused 2 pages, you'll likely proceed. The standard perceives that just beginning is the first and most significant advance toward accomplishing something. Presently, we should investigate the last principle for utilizing propensities to improve your life. Chapter 6: Making your habit promptly fulfilling is fundamental to compelling behavior change. During the 1990s, general well-being specialist Stephen Luby, working in the area of Karachi, Pakistan, accomplished an immense 52% decrease in looseness of the bowels among the neighborhood kids. Pneumonia rates dropped by 48% and skin diseases by 35%. Luby's mystery: decent cleanser. Luby had realized that handwashing and fundamental sanitation were basic to diminishing ailment. Local people got this, as well, they simply weren't transforming their insight into a propensity. Everything changed when Luby worked with Procter & Gamble to bring a top-notch cleanser into the area for nothing. Medium term, handwashing turned into a wonderful encounter. The new cleanser washed effectively and smelled brilliant. All of a sudden, everybody was washing their hands, since it was presently a satisfying movement. The last and most significant standard for social change is to make propensities fulfilling. This can be troublesome, for developmental reasons. Today, we live in what scholastics call a deferred return condition. You turn up at the workplace today, yet the arrival, a check doesn't come until the month's end. You go to the rec center in the first part of the day, however you don't get in shape medium term. Our minds, however, developed to adapt to the quick return condition of prior people, who weren't contemplating long-haul returns like putting something aside for retirement or adhering to an eating routine. They were centered around quick concerns like discovering their next dinner, looking for haven and remaining ready enough to get away from any close-by lions. Prompt returns can energize negative behavior patterns, as well. Smoking may give you lung malignancy in 20 years, at the time, it soothes your pressure and the hankering for nicotine, which means you may overlook the long-haul impacts and enjoy a cigarette. So when you are seeking after propensities with a postponed return, attempt to connect some prompt delight to them. For instance, a couple the creator realizes needed to eat out less, cook more, get more advantageous and set aside cash. To do as such, they opened a bank account called Excursion to Europe, and each time they stayed away from a feast out, moved $50 to it. The momentary fulfillment of seeing $50 land in that bank account gave the quick satisfaction they expected to keep them on track for a definitive, longer-term compensate. Anyway pleasurable and fulfilling we make propensities, we may even now neglect to look after them. So how about we investigate how we can adhere to our well-meaning goals? Chapter 7: Make a structure to keep your habits on track, utilizing trackers and agreements. Regardless of whether you're attempting to review your diary or give smoking, dealing with your own practices can be hard. Fortunately, there are a couple of basic estimates that can help. Propensity following is a straightforward however viable procedure. Numerous individuals have tracked their propensities. One of the most outstanding is establishing Father Benjamin Franklin. From the age of 20, Franklin kept a journal wherein he recorded adherence to 13 individual ethics, which included points like staying away from negligible discussion and to consistently be accomplishing something helpful. He noticed his prosperity consistently. You, as well, can build up a propensity tracker, utilizing a straightforward schedule or journal, and check off each day that you stay with your pick practices. You'll see it successful, in light of the fact that propensity following itself is an appealing and fulfilling propensity. The expectation and activity of check off every day will feel better and keep you propelled. A subsequent system is to build up a propensity contract that forces negative outcomes on the off chance that you neglect to remain on track. Brian Harris, a business person from Nashville, paid attention to his propensity contract very. In an agreement marked by him, his significant other and his fitness coach, he resolved to get his weight down to 200 pounds. He recognized explicit propensities that would help get him there, including following his nourishment admission every day and gauging himself every week. At that point he set up punishments for not accomplishing those things. On the off chance that he neglected to follow nourishment admission, he would need to pay $100 to his mentor. On the off chance that he neglected to gauge himself, he would owe $500 to his better half. The procedure worked, driven by his dread of losing cash as well as by his dread of losing face before 2 individuals who made a difference to him. People are social creatures. We care about the assessments of people around us, so basically realizing that somebody is watching you can be an amazing help for progress. So why not set yourself a propensity contract? Regardless of whether it isn't as itemized as Harris's, think about making a promise to your accomplice, your closest companion or one of your colleagues. On the off chance that you concur upon a lot of ramifications for neglecting to finish, you'll be significantly more liable to adhere to your propensities. Also, as we've seen, adhering to a positive propensity, anyway little, is a surefire approach to accomplish enormous things throughout everyday life. Final summary. A little change in your conduct won't change your life medium term. In any case, transform the conduct into a habit that you play out each day and it completely can prompt huge changes. Changing your life isn't tied in with making enormous leaps forward or altering as long as you can remember. Or maybe, it's tied in with structure, a positive arrangement of habits that, when joined, convey exceptional outcomes.